Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show, where ordinary heroes tell extraordinary stories during unique and never been heard before conversations with your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Hilary's unique listening and way of asking questions results in conversations that aren't usually talked about, so you can create the life that you really want but are afraid you can't really have. We are demonstrating the greatness and the human spirit in creating a world where we all reclaim our birthright of joy, happiness, purpose, and passion. Now, here's your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show. And today we're going to watch a very short video of our guest. I'm going to keep you in suspense for a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Alix. And I'm a little plump. If you ask me to describe my figure, I wouldn't call myself an apple or a pear. I'd say think more like a soft-boiled egg with breasts. And I'm an older person. I'm technologically challenged. I bought a smart TV. It's smarter than I am. I can't figure out how to turn it on.
Okay, wasn't that amazing? And now we have the famous Alix Elias. I might be saying that wrong. She's an actress, a comedian, and a writer. She's been a regular on shows, which she will tell you about, and also recurring, and she'll tell us about the difference of those. So welcome, Alix.
Hi.
Did I say it right? Elias?
Elias. Well, Alix Elias. It's good enough. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
That is an alias. I mean, sometimes.
Yes.
They're putting your last name first. People come up with alias Alix. So, it's one of those things.
All right. Okay. So, all right. So you're doing stand-up now, I know, but in the past, people might have seen you from Married with Children, where you were, let's see, recurring or regular?
I was a recurring on Married with Children, which ran for like 11 years. And I would be on, like once in a while. That's the definition of a recurring role on television, sitcoms. And the reason I mentioned that is just because that's still running. That's never been off the air. It just reruns endlessly. But
they would just say, okay, show up. We're going to use you, and you had to be available, or
no? They would contact your agent. They'd have a script. I was one of a group of women that were the wife's girlfriends, and we would usually sit in the living room and talk trash about our husbands. But my agents never wanted me to do this show because they thought it was so low class. But what do they know? I mean, this show, in many ways, is a classic. I actually love it. And, it's still on the air. I mean, it's obviously speaking to some general need in the public. So I wish I'd done more of them, to tell you the truth. But it's not, actors, it's just out of our hands. I mean, they want you, they'll let you know, kind of thing.
So in the meantime, all right, so let's go back to when you were little. Where did you, if you don't mind, grow up?
I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I started acting at a local theater called the Washington Theater Club, which is no longer there. And I did my first professional job there in their first season of Summer Stock. And then
how old were you?
What?
How old were you then? How old were you?
Oh, it was like 17, 18, something like that. And then I went off to New York and went to acting school at the neighborhood playhouse. And then I did a second season of Summer Stock with somebody I'd met during the first season of Summer Stock. And that got me my equity card. So I've been a union actor just right from the beginning. And, I've acted for a living all these years, surprisingly enough.
So you made a living. You didn't have to be a waitress or anything like that.
Well, I was a waitress once, but I had to quit because they wanted me to join the waitresses union, and I already belonged to 3 actors unions, and I wasn't going to do that. I had a job coming up anyway, an acting job. So
So
after 2 weeks, you were supposed to join the waitress union.
Oh.
So I quit. Or they fired me.
All right. So when did you want to become an actress? As a little girl? Like, did you
I
always
always wanted to be an actress or, a singer or a roller skating champion or something like that. I always wanted to be in the entertainment business. After I became an actress, I found out that on the Russian side of my family are, guess what, actresses. And who knew? So it's kind of in the blood. But my grandfather was embarrassed by his mother and his sister were both actresses in Russia. So he went straight and he became an army officer and then a scientist. And then during the Russian Revolution, he got out of Russia with his baby, my father, and his wife. And they went through Siberia and down across the ocean to San Francisco.
Mm.
And then he ended up becoming a fairly well-known scientist in his field, which was geology. And what else? Went to Yale.
That's your grandfather or your father?
My grandfather.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So what did he go to Yale for? Was he older?
He felt that his credentials were looked down on because they were Russian.
Mm.
He had college, and my grandmother had a college degree as far as that goes, the Russian grandmother. And so he, I think rather astutely, went to Yale and got a U.S. doctorate or whatever it was. And, he was a professor. He worked for the oil companies. That's what a lot of geologists do that.
Mm.
And my father and his younger brother were also forced to become geologists. And neither of whom cared for it, but there you have it. So
wow.
There's complicated history in my family with science and art, both of which seems perfectly logical to me that they're both coming from the same place, I guess you could say.
So your father, he stayed a geologist forever?
Yes, he did, but he was also a sculptor who, won a really important art show in DC, which is where we were living, and had just begun to show in New York City when he died. Unfortunately, at age 50, having been an alcoholic since his college days. So, unfortunately.
And what about your mom?
My mother was also an artist. She was a painter, and she ended up teaching art at this very interesting private school in New York called the Georgetown Day School, which is quite celebrated. And one of the things they did was they hired, instead of getting people with degrees in education, they got teachers with experience in whatever the subject was. So my mother taught art and came up with very interesting ways to teach art, very creative. And my brother taught science there for many years.
Wow.
So we have a long history with that school. I didn't go to that school. My sisters went, but I knew the people there fairly well because we were all kind of connected. And it was also the sort of school where the parents were encouraged to be part of the school. They were very active in the school. They weren't just parents, who would come once in a while. So it was but they started getting heavily involved with it just as I left to go to New York to go to acting school.
So the Georgetown, you said it was in New York, but the Georgetown Day School was
Washington.
Okay.
DC.
Okay. So he's like, that's weird that it says Georgetown. Okay. All right. So that was all in Georgetown.
Yes. Well, it actually moved out of Georgetown, but I think it started in Georgetown.
Right. Okay. But in the Washington, D.C. area. Okay. So then you went to New York. Where did you go for acting school?
I went to the neighborhood playhouse, which actually this is kind of an interesting story. I came to New York. I I actually lost my virginity in a green room in that first season of Summer Stock. And I came to New York to
For the
see
guy.
this guy and also to see if I could get into an acting school. And by this time, it was like the end of the summer. We'd been doing stock and then summer stock. And then so it was almost like the school year was starting in just a few weeks. And they told me that they had too many, especially women, and it was too late, that I might be able to apply for the following year or something like that. As I was having this conversation, the money lady, Mrs. Morgenthau, showed up, and while the other lady was doing something, we had a conversation, and this lady assumed I had been accepted. So she was, by the time the administrator got back, Mrs. Morgenthau had more or less accepted me and was saying, "So we'll see you in a few weeks, dear."
Wow.
No, so I was, by accident, I was accepted into this school.
And what did you planned on before you met the guy and lost your virginity? And so, where was the summer like?
I just never thought that being an actress, that something that good would happen to me. I assumed that I would go to college, and I was interested in biology. I was thinking maybe I'd be a research biologist.
Wow.
Particularly interested in prehistoric man, but life intervenes, and so of course, with this opportunity, I mean, it's just so unusual that people are able to make a living doing this. I mean, I'm really, really in the minority.
Right. So, right. So how did it all happen? So was the acting playhouse a college, or it was just a school?
It's a professional acting. It's a very reputable. Now, of course, that was in those days. I don't know. Frankly, I'm out of touch with what.
Right.
I would
at the time
that acting schools are in the New York City area are prestigious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was going to advise somebody into going to acting school, I'd tell them to go to New York as opposed to LA. However, there are certain advantages to it depends on what kind of acting work you want to do. I mean, if you go to acting school in LA, you make LA connections, and so it's kind of up for grabs. But the Neighborhood Playhouse was founded by a group of ladies on the Lower East Side who were wealthy Jewish ladies. But at the time, acting was frowned upon. I mean, it was considered really kind of low rent, and only bad women did that. But these society ladies were able to create the school and act in it and do production and to bring all sorts of worthy, interesting, unusual plays and so on to the area. And it started on the down on like Hester Street or something, and they moved up to. They bought this building on East 53rd Street. And so Martha Graham was their dance teacher. And they had a whole bunch of very distinguished. And then Sanford Meisner was their acting teacher, who is quite well known. And his particular style of acting is called the Meisner approach. Stuff. And I missed him because he went to California for 2 years to try to get into films or something, and which didn't work out. So I worked with other people, but in that general type of technique, there's only about 3. There's method, which is what I'm most attracted to, which is sort of inside out, and then there's kind of presentational acting, which is outside in, which is kind of the English approach. And then there's sort of the middle, which is Meisner and various other people. So it was a good place to go. I was misunderstood at the time, and so they didn't use me. I am, however, one of, I think, only 2 people out of this whole year's worth of actors that ever worked
Really?
the show, you know.
Right. They were wrong.
They
So-
were wrong. And yeah, the other is my friend Joanna Pettit, who became a movie star and was a Bond girl, but she was gorgeous. So
So are you. Now, what did your parents say about all that? Did they hate you?
I think they were, there's a whole thing, you know, at various points it was possible that my father, who was very well received in terms of his artwork, could transition into doing that full time and give up being a scientist.
Mm.
And in retrospect, I really wish he'd done that. And because he hated being a geologist, but he was very good at it. And so he became very useful. He was working for the U.S. Geological Survey. So they needed him.
Mm.
And my parents grew up in the Depression, so that security was important to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were both surprised, delighted, and terrified that I would go off on my own and try and work in the arts. And I'm the only one that did it of the 4 of us kids. And so they were happy about it. I mean, I never got any resistance. I remember my mother was like, "Oh, you can't do that." But it wasn't like, "You can't do that." It was just like she was astonished to think that anybody would make that jump, you know.
Yeah.
It's unknown.
So
And they loved New York. They loved coming to New York. They loved coming to see the art shows and theater and all of that.
all right. So when you graduated,
Yes.
I mean, obviously you said you supported yourself. So how did you support? I think most aspiring actresses would want to know how did you do that?
Well, I did have, you know, I would once in a while I would get a job, but the waitressing job, I don't think I ever did it longer than a week, except for that one time I did for 2 weeks. So that first summer, I got a second season of Summer Stock through a guy that I had met the first season of Summer Stock in DC.
Okay.
He got a job putting on a season of Summer Stock in Connecticut, which was a disaster, but that's a whole other story.
Where in Connecticut? That's where I am.
Oh,
Wasn't Westport.
it was called the Aquatic Summer Playhouse, and it was near something called Lake Aquatic, I think. I once looked it up. I mean, it's no longer there, of course.
Okay.
And I can't remember the nearest town, but it was really in the middle of nowhere. There was a rich lady patron who got totally fed up with this. But anyway, so then when I got out of acting school, I got into a children's theater company called the Peppermint Players. And we toured. You know, we went to Babylon, we went to Westport, we went to oh God, no, I can't think of the name of it. And they paid us $5 a show, and they took taxes out of it, which meant that we might be gone for an entire day, and we didn't make enough money to eat lunch. So, but it was acting. And
did they pay for you to where you stayed? Like, how did you pay?
No, we didn't. We only went for the day. We
Oh.
would leave and we'd come back the same day. We never stayed overnight.
And how'd you pay your rent and stuff? Or was that your...
Well, you know, rents in those days, my first apartment in New York, I split with a dancer. And I think it was on the Lower East Side. It was on Avenue D. And I think we paid $45 a month. And then it was big. It was 2 big bedrooms and another room. It was one of those old, you know, one of those old ghetto type buildings. But and the toilet was in the hall. And at one point we got another roommate, and she was always out touring somewhere. So it was like I was paying like $12 a month, like $45 split 3 ways, or $44 or whatever. And I was still getting a little bit of money from my father. I think my father was sending me $40 every 2 weeks or something. And then one of the boys who was I played the cow in Jack and the Beanstalk, and the kid who was playing Jack had an agent. He had been in The Sound of Music. He had red hair, and he had an agent. So the agent came to see him, and I found out about this job. Oh, Dad, Poor Dad. Oh, Dad, Poor Dad, Mama's hung you in the closet, and I'm feeling so sad. You know that play? No. Well, it had a part in it. I saw it. I don't know how I afforded to go. Maybe somebody took me. And I really related to that role. So I asked the agent if they could get me an audition, because I knew that Barbara Harris was leaving. And they did. And I got it. So I started working. And if you count the Children's Theater Company, I started working right away. And then, you just do the best you can. Somebody once described an actor's life as, now she was working out of town mainly, and she said it's like being a grad student all your life. Like, you can't afford, you can never afford a new car. You can't afford a couch. I mean, you know what I mean? It's that kind of life. But it has, creative rewards. And in my case, once I started doing theater, casting agents saw me and started calling me for commercials. I started very early on doing commercials.
Like which ones?
Oh, God, you name it. I've probably advertised it. There's the one on now, which is for an online bingo game with Drew Barrymore, and who has an interest in the company. So that's why she's doing them.
Oh, I was wondering why she's doing it.
She's quite a bingo fan anyway,
I guess. Yeah, she seemed very excited by it on the commercial.
Well, that's acting.
So
everything you can imagine, I don't get
like, I'm thinking Palmolive. I'm thinking of the old ones, Palmolive, or
I've certainly done a ton of stuff for Procter and Gamble.
Did you get paid more for commercials than
any kind of television pays quite decently.
Okay.
So it's definitely a living wage. Films are good, but it's like they're only every now and then. You know what I mean? The thing with television is it can often be you do it quite a bit. I mean, either you're on a series or you get these little jobs and they come along fairly frequently, and you make enough money to get you by to the next one. And then, at least in the early days, you also got medical insurance, very generous medical insurance.
Wow.
You had to make a certain amount of money or shoot a certain number of days, but it wasn't that hard to do. So television has really been my salvation in many ways. I mean, I've done theater. I started out doing theater. I've done theater all these years. I've done a few films. I really prefer to do films, but as I say, they're not, I'm not well known enough to, to do a film specifically because they want me. But television has been really, really great. So I'm hoping, with the stand-up I've been doing, I am hoping one way or another that I'll end up on TV again. That's my hope.
Good. Let's make it happen.
All right.
You hear that, everyone?
Okay.
She needs to be cast on TV. But as a comedy role, right? Are you always comedy?
No, I'm not always comedy. I can do serious or comedy. Because of my voice quality, I'm often cast in comedies, and apparently I'm funny. So it's
You're adorable. Yes, adorable, funny. Yeah.
when I do a serious roles, I have to think differently. Literally, my normal way of thinking and approaching life is funny.
Mm.
I don't know why, but I've come to peace with it. I mean, at first I was like, wait a minute, why are they laughing at me? And then I thought, well, you get over the idea that they're ridiculing you and
Right.
see that, you're making people happy. So that's not so bad.
Now, did you ever get nervous?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did. But you just push through that, as you get older, it gets harder to memorize lines. So that's kind of a sense of panic. But I'm not actually doing theater anymore. I just ended up being too much, too much time and effort for too little money. And I'm trying to concentrate on film and TV and also new media, because I also have a show, which I do. We've got a YouTube channel and we're doing episodes of that a couple of months. And now we're trying to do an Instagram push. Now, I don't know how to do any of this, but I have a techie friend that I can hire I know what I want it to look like, and he knows how to approach it, with the technical end of things. But he's also an artist, so we work well together.
And what's the goal? Just to get more other parts to be seen?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there is something very satisfying, and you might even say healing about working as in the arts or as an actor or as a comic. It's just my life's work, and it's about communication. And I'm not super political, but I've certainly done, some, I guess you might call it propaganda or whatever, for like women's rights and things like that. But I think just in general that, good acting or good performing, and of course I write my own comedy stuff, is a way of, I don't know, being more human, connecting with other humans. I mean, you're reaching out on a universal sort of level. And, or at least I am. I mean, that's my,
well,
I guess that's why people feel satisfied when they see me performing.
Because you're real.
I'm real, and they can identify. I can identify better actually with people when I'm performing than I can when I'm in real life, because I'm basically shy.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't.
But it's amazing if you're shy that you could go out on the stage with your own jokes and do that. But I guess
it's different.
Performing, yeah, right?
And that's also a kind of a protected area. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it. And it's something that I think people have always wanted it. I think that performing on some levels just goes right back to the beginning of humanity. And we need it. I don't know why.
For like the performers or the people watching, or both?
Well, I think both, but I think that people I mean, for example, with artificial intelligence and all the contrivance and manipulation that goes into something like television or film, the idea of seeing somebody live is just as strong as ever. People go and see these kind of dreadful comedy performances. A lot of stand-up is not funny. I don't really know why. I was kind of astounded. But people still want to go and see it. They want to see a live person up there. They want to experience that. And they want to respond to that on an audience level. It's some kind of a deep need that we have as human beings. So,
well, I mean,
yeah.
When you say some of them aren't funny, they think they're funny and they're not, or?
I don't know. There's a very strong, I mean, it's changed. When I first started doing stand-up, it must have been like, I don't know, 30 years ago or something like that. And at that point, you wanted funny. You wanted a setup, punch, jokes, Bob Hope, kind of comedy. Now it seems more like people get up and they just sort of rant about their lives, and you can see how the performers would want to do that. Why an audience would be interested in their problems, I have no idea. I'm not. So, but there is now this self, you expose yourself in a way, and I guess they hope that people will laugh or accept them. And a lot of times they do, but then I think it's sort of like bullfights in that you watch people get up there and fail. You watch people, make fools of themselves. And there's something that people want to see about that. Now,
well, I think they do that on TV. Like, they're not trying to be funny, but those shows where the family comes and it's like,
I haven't seen any of them.
No, I was in some office. I don't know if it was the doctor's office or something, and it was on TV, and I was like, wow. Yeah, they're all putting each other down and fight. I mean, I don't know why, but there was on, so people watch it, but it's not, I mean, when I went to see Helene, she's the one that introduced us, and there was a guy who was autistic, and he was a comedian, and he was making fun of his own autism, which I thought it was like, wow, like it was kind of shocking, but good for him if he can laugh at himself, I think. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It was strange.
The guy might be the same guy. I don't know who's severely disabled, and he's in a wheelchair.
No.
And yeah. And one of his favorite jokes is that he talks like that, as he says that he's in the park and some guy comes up and attacks him and wants to throw up, and the guy says, "I'm gonna fuck you up," and he says, "Too late." So
pretty funny.
It's like a window into other people's kind of lives. And on a certain level, we all have a mother. We all go to the bathroom. We all have sex, or we want to have sex. There are certain universals, but you see into somebody else's life and identify. So, I mean, I could identify with that guy.
Right.
In that situation.
Right.
And so that's what, now that was actually funny, but a lot of it isn't funny. And I honestly don't know. I think somebody should write a college paper. Why?
Like a PhD. What's funny?
Going to see stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I think that, but I'm happy it's there.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. All right. So we'll talk more. We're going to go to our commercial break. Hey everyone, it's Hilary, and if you followed Getting Real with Hilary, I believe we heal by telling the truth, asking better questions, and choosing courage over chaos. That's why I'm excited to share a book that does all of that. It's called Reviving Our Republic, written by Navy veteran Mike Biedenbaugh. This isn't just another political book. It's a hopeful, grounded blueprint that shows exactly how we repair our institutions, restore our constitutional balance, and rebuild a culture where citizens lead again. If you're ready to get real about America's future and what role you can play, go to revivingourrepublic.com and get your copy today. Hey, it's Hilary from the Getting Real with Hilary show. Life can be messy, raw, and real. And sometimes we're afraid to feel vulnerable. We're afraid to be that real self. Well, that's exactly what the Getting Real with Hilary show and Getting Real movement is all about, being our true selves. Every week, I bring you stories of transformation, authenticity, and hope. People getting real with their struggles, their faith, and their breakthroughs. So don't miss a thing. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter today. You'll get stories, links to everything new, and how to create a life you love every week directly to your inbox. You can also find my books on Amazon. My courageous and riveting memoir, The Second Piece of French Toast, in case you feel stuck in your life and want to get inspired. How I came out about my no sex life in my marriage, in my second book, Real Talk. That one will get you speaking up in ways you've been too afraid to do so, and really creating amazing freedom. And my third book, How to Stop Fixing Yourself and Start Having Fun, the name is called Your Bullshit is Your Blessing. Find links to everything and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Getting Real with Hilary, and you'll find the links in the header. So visit, and you can also visit gettingrealwithhilary.com, because the real you is worth it and wants to come out. Hey friends, it's Hilary, host of the Getting Real with Hilary show, and I want to get real with you for a moment about something we don't talk about enough: brain health and immune health as we age. I recently learned about daily brain care from Dr. John E. Lewis, and what stood out to me is that this isn't hype. It's science-backed and clinically proven. Daily brain care supports cognitive function and memory, reduces inflammation, balances the immune system, and even helps increase adult stem cell production, which plays a key role in how our bodies repair and regenerate. When your immune system is balanced, your whole body works better. You handle stress better, you feel healthier, and you function more like your younger self. If you're serious about taking care of your brain and your body, check out Daily Brain Care at drlewisnutrition.com. You know, I think the fact that you supported yourself in acting, I mean, that's really a feat. I don't think I've ever met anyone who has actually done that, who didn't have to have a side job. I don't think so.
Yeah, and I've done it right from the beginning, which is interesting.
But it seems like
Well, there's a certain level of actor that does this, and we all sort of know each other because we work together. I mean, I work with people that I met, when 30, 40 years ago or whatever. But yeah, it is rare.
So, like, when you found out that the woman was leaving the part, I forget who it was.
Yeah, Barbara Harris.
Yeah, and then you went and, you kind of were on the in, or you found out and you knew you needed, you made it happen. You weren't.
Well, yes, I got help from an agent, especially in those days. It was very difficult to get auditions without an agent. I mean, that's still true. Even though agents are in the current climate, the agents are going out of business because they can't afford to keep the offices open because there's not enough work. But somehow the whole system lumbers along.
Why is there not enough work?
Well, the producers are saying it's the actors' fault because we recently had an actors' strike and our minimums went up. But frankly, I think that we're all in the middle of this huge upheaval in the entertainment business in terms of how it's created and how it gets to us, which has to do with computers and online and new media and AI and all that kind of stuff. So So it's all changing. Nobody knows where it's going. I mean, if they knew that, people would make lots of money. But so people are trying things. There's this whole thing with streaming. There's these new companies like, Apple and Netflix and all these, which are trying to take over from the old fashioned Warner Brothers, Paramount, big movie studios, big movie TV studios, which are still operating, but, like teetering, and nobody knows where it's going. So we're all just kind of trying to hang in there. I think to me, it's sort of like what happened when, television came along or when talkies came in.
Right.
But when television hit, there was this whole culture of radio and radio performances, and it was just obliterated. People that had made their livings for, decades, were just wiped out. And many of them moved to California and tried to get into television or films or whatever. So we're in the middle of just this gigantic upheaval and nobody knows where it's going. So and that's on top of climate change and all the political problems and, the rich getting richer and the rest of us, hurting. Who knows where it's going to go? Obviously, it's not sustainable on the present level. But I don't know. I was sort of semi-commuting to LA for like 25 years. And I go out there and I do a bunch of television. And then I come back and it actually kind of ruined my theatrical career because when you're out of town for 6 months, people forget about you. But I really love New York, and I'm really more of an East Coast person. And what always, scared me about LA was the weather. And it was not only the earthquakes, it was that every year there'd be fires and you'd go out in the morning and the sky would be green and your car would be covered with dust and it would be some wildfire raging. Maybe it was like 30 miles away. But then there'd be mudslides and there's these deluge monsoon. I mean, it was just too much. And the earthquakes, of course. I was there for a couple of the big earthquakes. Big-ish, not really huge. But bad enough.
Were you scared?
Well, in the worst one, I was in an apartment that was over a garage. So underneath me was where they parked the cars. And there was the apartment, that part of the apartment was on stilts. So it was like being dice in a box, and it was 3:00 in the morning. And I thought to myself, I could die. And I could have. I didn't, but it's a really strange feeling. And when you're walking, I remember I was walking during the daytime and the sidewalk started to waver.
Wow.
The idea that the ground is not permanent. Really strange sensation.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to stay. I didn't want to stay in LA. I could be maybe getting more work if I'd stayed in LA, but I still had my New York apartment, thank God. And I came back here and I haven't been out there for, I guess it was before the pandemic when I went back and got rid of my storage unit and, saw some old friends. So unless I get another job out there, but now these fires. See, the trouble with those fires is it really brought home the fact that the government is unable to protect that city. That was not Altadena, but the Pacific Palisades, huge wealth and power, and it just all went up. So if I were a producer, and I'm fond of saying, those sound stages, those production companies, those are made out of wood. Wow. It's just chance that those fires weren't in that particular area, one of those areas. And so if I was running a big studio or something like that, I'd be very nervous about continuing to have my whole business based in LA. And I think that's what the governor, Newcomb, whatever his name is, I think that's what he's trying. They're trying to get people to stay in California, but it's really risky.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's safer here in the East Coast, I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to deal with flooding and God knows what. But yeah.
So
LA, yeah.
So you were saying, okay, it's like when radio switched to TV and it's going from what we had to all this new stuff.
Right.
One of the guys I had on my show twice, he was a producer. Was he a director? David Winning. Anyway, he did a lot of Hallmark, and so that's why I had him, because I love that. But so I would, find ideas or people who were looking to do stuff, and he was like, "Well, I need someone who has money, bankroll it." You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Are people not putting their money into it now? Is that like, how do the Netflix people do theirs? Like how to?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they started out with renting out videos to people, and that's no longer an option. So they're moved on, to production. And there's a number of other companies, I believe Apple has got is now producing entertainment and, a bunch of other things. There's still a market for entertainment. It's not like people don't want to be entertained. It's that they're getting it in a different way. And so the old ways are covered with unions and minimums. You have to do this, rules. And the new media, this is new media.
Right.
And I have a YouTube channel, which is new media. And that's virtually free.
Right.
And anybody who wants to watch that, it's called the Alix Elias channel. Okay. So please watch. Who knows? In an era in which your average citizen, particularly young people and even teenagers and children, can create their own entertainment for themselves and their family and their friends and whoever else wants to watch it, that is what the studios are competing with. So there's just this mass of possibilities. You're not stuck with 3 channels.
Right. I was just going to say that. They had
a monopoly.
Yeah. And now there's gazillions of channels, right? So everyone can put stuff out, I guess, is what you're saying. Do people, I don't know if you know, but they used to make movies for the movie theaters. That's where you would go to see a movie. Then there was Blockbuster. You could buy it after a while, but now.
Well, that's it. You don't have to, have a special date to walk down the street and need it, 6:30 and go see a movie. Now I think that the movie studios are trying to compete by having hugely expensive films that with, things that your average citizen doesn't have access to. But unfortunately, with, AI and all these new programs, it's possible to do a sort of a reasonable facsimile of that. And, what is it that people are going to want to see? We don't know. And the studios don't know. The big producers don't know. So they're trying stuff. Mostly what they're doing is trying to repeat stuff that was successful in the past. A dead end, in my opinion. But I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your stand-up.
Oh, okay. Well, what happened was at the beginning of the pandemic I saw that there was a local senior center that was offering a class in comedy. And I thought that it was about writing comedy. Oh. And I thought, oh, well, that's useful because occasionally, I do write. And so I signed up, my husband and myself, and it turned out to be on Zoom because it had started out as a live class. But they switched to Zoom because of the pandemic. And it was basically I mean, it's sort of about stand-up. I don't really know how to describe that class, or even whether to call it a class or not. It's just a group of people that, and the lady who runs it, Joe Firestone, is very talented, a very sweet, talented young woman who keeps the whole thing moving along. Well, now what she was doing was a form of stand-up, but it wasn't the kind of set-up punch comic. It was its own kind of thing. And which I don't really know how to describe her. I mean, I've been to see her and it's just delightful, but I don't know how to describe it exactly. Because now she immediately started getting this group of seniors into performance mode. Now, my husband and I were professional actors. There was one other actor who basically hadn't worked in years, and that was it. And his wife, who was kind of an aspiring actress. And they were both, I guess, over 60 or something. And the rest were just people, you know? And somehow she got everybody up, and she got a stage, and we did this show, and it went so well that she got someone to produce it for television. And it went on the Peacock channel, and it was up for a Critics' Choice Award. And then she wrote a film, which I was featured in because I was one of the few actors, and did really well. And then she got a job as a head writer on a game show in LA. She's just coming back next week. It was a game show called After Midnight, which basically kind of was a game show with a lot of comedians who would, compete against each other in various ways. So I don't know what the future brings, but that got me back into, because I had done stand-up. I think maybe it was the only person who had ever done stand-up before, except for, I guess, Helene. Helene and Linda and Ziggy had been each in their own, with their own journey, had somehow started doing stand-up comedy as older people who had done something else with their lives, and suddenly at this point in their lives decided to do stand-up comedy. I mean, go figure. I had this long, performance background, but they didn't. So I began to get such a strong positive reaction to the stand-up that I was doing. And at first I thought, well, it's just because I've, done this before. But no, I mean, it's a talent that I was sort of only semi-conscious of. So that's how it started. And then I just it kind of pulls you along until I get another acting job.
Right.
And then I'll probably drop the whole thing. But I don't know, maybe not. Because as I say, because stand-up is very difficult in a lot of ways, in the sense that you have very few protections. Actors have unions and are protected in certain ways, both financial and, socially speaking, you might say. Stand-up is just up for grabs. So there's a certain risk to it. There's a certain danger, but there is this tremendous amount of independence and creativity, in the sense that you're just on your own, and however you want to deal with that. But, there are certain rewards to it that makes me feel like I won't give it up again. I'll keep doing it along with everything else I'm doing.
Right. Well, so we need to wrap up. Believe it or not, we have 2 minutes.
Gosh, all right.
So how do people find you? I know.
You can go to the Alix Elias channel on YouTube. Okay. And then also, I believe there's Alix Elias on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
If I sound hesitant, it's because I don't know how to do any of this stuff. This is for me. And I'm really kind of naive about new media, but trying my best to hang on by my fingernails.
What would you say your goal or vision is for the next couple of years or 5 years or whatever?
Well, I'm hoping to do more of everything. I'm hoping to do more acting and more stand-up and more writing and just more being able to express myself in a creative way, which is one of the things that gives you, I don't know what to say, a reason to go on living. I mean,
Well, it seems like that's your joy, your purpose, and your passion.
satisfaction and a feeling of connecting with other people and the world in a good way, as opposed to all the bad stuff that's happening. All right. Well, very nice to meet you.
Yes, it was really fun, and can't wait to watch more. I love the thing with the egg. That was funny.
Oh, the egg. Oh, yeah. Well, listen, you should come and see me too. I'm going to be doing a performance at Gotham. I think it's in July. I'll send you a thing.
Yes. All right. Great. Yes. Thank you so much, Alix. It was a pleasure. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for watching this episode. I started getting real with Hilary when I discovered that I was a people-pleasing, pleasant phony and wanted to be more of my real self. We can grow together if you will like the show, subscribe to my channel, and share this episode with your friends and family so that we can have a world that's more real.